Well, for those of you just tuning in, good morning and welcome. You are tuned to Cheche, the program where opinion counts live on Citizen TV. Today's guest hopes to be our Madam President after next month's general election. And we are talking about healthcare now, because you are promising in your 6 pillars that you want universal healthcare across the board for every Kenyan.
Yes.
How do you expect to achieve that?
Firstly, starting with the budget that is allocated to health, ensuring that we get optimum results, efficiency in both human and financial resources. Therefore, it means fighting corruption in the sector, because corruption, good governance is a cross-cutting issue. And I think by doing that, you already are starting on in a good place. But also increasing the allocation. We'll be coming with the figures, with the complete whatever on how when we launch.
What about the National Hospital Insurance Fund? There is controversy about what should it be.
Those are the issues that are going to come out.
Okay.
And even now, if we utilize what we had properly, it is possible to give universal access.
You touched on land, and by extension that goes into food security and agriculture, which is one of your pillars. We'll come to that shortly. But you set a continental standard, an allocation of 10% of your budget. Why haven't you thought through the same when it comes to healthcare? Because there is also a continental standard, an Abuja declaration, 15% of budgets allocated to healthcare.
There is that, but you're going to see for a country like ours, and I agree that is the ideal, where there are too many competing needs because of the underdevelopment. You want to first balance and say, this is what will go to each sector. But I can assure you that I'll be looking at those guidelines set by the continent, also set by the UN, because these are well thought out issues. But on food security, I said straight away that we will increase that allocation. Remember, that sick person, if not fed, cannot even take medicine, you see? So I'm seeing, and you cannot have a hungry nation like we do have today. So I'm saying that I would support our farmers. We will solve the distribution problems, but investing in our farmers, in value addition, in production, will get us off the cyclic hunger that we are always having. I always see every time we are unable, the agencies are unable to buy cereals at a price that can help the farmers go back to the farm for more, yet we are willing to pay twice as much when we import maize during a crisis to solve the hunger problem. So it's just reorganizing that and using some of the money that we are using to import food to support agriculture with water infrastructure, etc.
Why does your policy on health seem not to be as well thought out as your policies elsewhere, say constitutionalism, food security? We see constant crisis within the healthcare sector. I mean, that's a starting point, an obvious starting point, isn't it?
Yeah, but may I tell you that it's completely well thought out, and you're going to see much of the house soon. But I'm saying this, even with health, with every sector, whether it's education, whether it's health, your starting point is the budget, better utilization of the budget there is, and then making addition, because none of them will go without slightly increased budget, and seeing where to curb the leakage, because by Treasury's own admission, 1/3 of the budget is lost to corruption and misuse every year. So seeing where to make adjustments, widening the tax bracket so that you also mobilize enough taxes without having to raise taxes. Everything will be starting where we are with efficiency. And even in water, when I was rolling out those reforms, I started with what I had, making it efficient while seeking for more funding.
You've touched on corruption. Every time we have somebody of your stature here, a leader, we get text messages claiming that they have benefited in some way from corruption. If you could respond to this text from Oweru in Mwea, you were irregularly allotted a piece of land at Ngariyama in Mwea. You are aware that such irregularities have caused unending fighting and loss of lives.
That's absolutely untrue, and it is unfortunate that through social media, one can make any allegation, not identify themselves and get away with it. The entire list of the allottees was tabled by the then Minister for Local Government in Parliament at my prodding, and I am not a beneficiary of that land, and I do not own land anywhere in Kirinyaga. I own land in Nairobi and in Tigoni, which I have declared, not an iota of land in Mwea, but I have supported the allocation of the land to the landless in Kirinyaga. It was done transparently by the local authorities with my support and the support of the local leaders then in 2006.
Are you saying you don't have a home in Kirinyaga?
I have.
You have no home?
My father's land, and I have now a building on that land, but the land does not belong to me, and I'm not looking for land. Okay. I am not hungry. I have not acquired hunger.
Let's go to something which is contentious at the moment,
yes,
about party lists. Yes. We have seen politicians and party leaders giving the people to be nominated after the 4th March election. Yeah. Some of them, their brothers, their sisters, their cronies. I don't know whether your party is in
a great shame. You cannot make nominations a family affair, however large your family is. I think we need, the party lists are supposed to reward those who have worked hard for the party, but you've got to look at the party spread countrywide and then have a criteria. Now Kenya, we set up a criteria on how to arrive at the nominations. Yesterday we did put in a list. One, you have to have been in the party, to have worked for the party, to have shown commitment to its ideals, etc. And we gave this to all the counties. The counties have brought back their suggestions on nominations, and yesterday we were able to compile a list for nomination for the county assembly seats. Today, after this show, I'm going to sit with my people and we will finalize the list for nomination to Senate and to the National Assembly. The same criteria will apply.
I thought those seats are supposed for special people, like women, disabled.
The Senate seats, 16 of them are for women only.
Yes.
And even the other 4, there will be 2 more women. So 18 are for women of all categories. Then 2 will be for youth and disabled. Therefore,
doesn't the law say that those posts, there must be some form of election supervised by the Electoral Commission?
No, it doesn't say so. There has to be, but they say the procedure must follow the party rules.
Yes.
I sympathize with the IEBC because they will not be able to police our procedures within the parties. They should be a function of the Registrar of Political Parties, an office that has not reformed. We have not even appointed a new registrar pursuant to the law. So we have all these problems. But where a party has done it absolutely in the wrong manner, the IEBC would be right to reject
What is the wrong manner? Because the way it is done now, it's
like putting all the people who are now contesting for Parliament and for Senate back on the list.
Because that is what we're seeing, and we're also seeing that women, in spite of the aspiration towards the gender rule, the one-third rule, are being shortchanged.
I actually think that even if parties put men for Senate, the IEBC, following the law, ought to reject all of them and request for more nominations from the parties, and that it can also be challenged in court. The 12 parliamentary seats, those are for special interest. So when you put back members of Parliament, people who are contesting, then you would be hard-placed to show that they actually amount to special interest considerations. The only 2 contestants exempted by law, and that was by a later day amendment in Parliament, are the president and deputy president, including their names, would be legitimate. The question is whether every president and deputy president wants to be on the list. For instance, I am not seeking to be on the NARC Kenya list.
What if you fail? You don't want to go to the bush?
Listen,
because
I say it clearly that before politics, I was a Kenyan committed to her country. After politics, I'll still be a Kenyan committed to my country. It's not life and death.
Okay, returning to your policy pillars, you talk about a responsive, comprehensive education. What do you mean by that?
An education system that responds to our needs as a country, to the industries, so that you are constantly updating and reviewing.
The curriculum.
Yes, so that, and that's what elsewhere in the world, that's what is done, even by the universities, that you continuously review to respond to the needs of the industry. And therefore it means constant engagement with stakeholders. Yeah.
How would you push that through, given the amount of rowing we saw when there was talk of changing the current 844 system to the 6334 system?
I think it doesn't mean always a change of everything, but when you bring stakeholders together for a constructive engagement, you should be able to find a middle ground. There is nothing absolutely wrong with the 844 if certain things are reorganized. So we just need to look at the many reports, because we've done a lot of work on these areas. There are reports of various commissions, just collating them and coming up with something we need to do and keeping that engagement continuous.
Okay, someone.
I hold the view that our education sector is in a bit of chaos.
Yes, it is.
The kind of education coming out is not, I mean, the standards have fallen. There is a lot of higher education going on that really, I don't think, meets the quality test or is helpful to this country. We are churning out a lot of graduates, but really to what avail? What is your view?
I hear you. Sometimes it's not the courses, it's the quality of the education. Like when you put a class of 400 to one instructor, even marking those papers, and that particular instructor may have other parallel classes. So we need a lot of reorganization. We also need governance in the education sector. The universities are collecting billions in the parallel programs, yet we are seeing them seeking money from the government to pay the lecturers. We can do better by utilizing the funds collected to improve the infrastructure, improve quality, ensure also that the welfare of the instructors is looked after, and money from Exchequer ought to basically be for infrastructure.
What about this habit of setting up universities in every village? On the fourth floor of every, near the nearest shop, the nearest bar, there is a university.
That's where the quality is coming in.
And there are no teachers.
Having a criteria of what are the requirements. Like we have a criteria even for primary schools. Yeah. If you want a school, there is a certain acreage you need. Yeah. There's a certain basic infrastructure. Yes. What we are doing is that it's not that we do not know there's need for standards. It's just that we have relaxed in enforcement. And it's not just in education, it's in health. You have clinics everywhere which do not qualify for
the question that somebody is likely to ask is, you know, it always boils back to, you are actually in politics, in leadership.
Yeah.
How come you're not making aggressive interventions in these things? Because suppose you don't become president, does it mean the country continues to rot as you watch? Is Martha Karua helpless in her position? Doesn't she have enough clout, gravitas to move government or her colleagues in politics to address some of these things? Must they wait for Martha Karua to be president?
Kenyans have seen me in parliament, outside of parliament, and I can say without batting an eyelid, I have moved many things to happen, even after I left government. Implementation of the constitution, getting the government to do the right thing. But there's a difference to you pushing from the outside and doing those things from within. I'm telling Kenyans, I have served you. I've done the best I could in those circumstances. Give me an opportunity to do much better with the same commitment and in the entire government.
There's a challenge to your respect for national diversity and what you're calling Kenyanity, which you could explain. And that challenge comes from Kamau, who says that at KICC in 2007, this is what you said: we cannot allow a Luo to lead this country. So therefore, how can we trust you?
I'm just horrified that you can read something that is totally baseless, untrue, elevate a rumor to something, to nationally, by reading it out here. If indeed I had said that, it ought to have come out in 2007 December, in January 2008. This is something that has been crafted by haters later day. And I would urge you, now that you have done it for me wrongly, don't do it for any other candidate. Something that is not verified. It's elevating a rumor. In KICC, everything was televised. It was live. If I said any such words, they would have been picked. And anybody claiming to have had a conversation with me is a liar. There was no time for conversation with anybody. You are standing there, listening to everything being directed to the commission and answering for your party.
Right.
So
I think you can even remind them that you used to sing the song Unwalkable.
And I have no problem.
David?
I just want to say that, you know, with due respect to Martha Karua's position, the beauty of modern society and the social media is that you are able to get this kind of messages coming through for people who not reach you.
Yes.
And secondly, these
but
things...
I'm answering them on social media, so you don't have to elevate.
Okay, let me finish.
Rumors.
Secondly, the fact is that even if they don't come to you, they are circulating out there. So
and
it's
so
just, and they could affect your own support. So it's just as well that they come up, and then you actually address them in the manner you have done.
I actually want to see you do that for every candidate. There has been people here who have been taken to court for criminal things. You don't ask them. You elevate a rumor and ask me and get it, help it in circulating. Those are the things I'm talking about. I've been answering the same thing on social media and saying just I have said, you are lying, you are lying, you are a hater, because if it was, why would the rumor surface long after 2007? This is a gimmick to try and soil my name.
It's a gimmick
People
to
can look
soil your
at
name.
the
It's
party.
come to Cheche TV.
Now
you
Kenya,
talk
we
about
say one
Kenyanity
Kenya,
and respect for national
one
diversity.
Kenya,
there we
one
go.
nation, one people. Just look at now Kenya. Look at where we campaign. Look at the way we are spread. Look at the issues I advocate for in Parliament.
Right.
And for whom I'm asking those questions. And you will see Martha Karua, a Kenyan, a true Kenyan.
Let's look at just the last thing on the education policy. Your competitors have actually put across proposal for free education, free high school. Where does your free in terms of education go up to?
I was the first to say free primary and free secondary education. In other words, adding on the secondary as free. I have now had my competition talking of free university. University, we are not talking about free. We shall just ensure that in public universities, the loan given to the students cover the three basics: accommodation, tuition, and meals. That's what happened to us. That's what equalizes the children of the poor and the children of the rich, because nobody suffers exclusion in the university because of lack of funds. But our free is up to secondary school. Again, not to disadvantage the children of the poor. And in this respect, I am looking at what it is. What would it take to make secondary education absolutely free? And it doesn't, it's not rocket science. You just look at what the schools are asking. If you just started there, and again, encouraged efficiency, you provide what the parents were supposed to provide, and it's used optimally, then we are able to get all those admitted to the public schools going to school without having to.
But again, as with healthcare, you then have the problem of quality, as we saw when free primary education was started. We had an influx of children getting into public schools, classroom sizes of 60 to 70 children, so that now, as you see with the results that have just been released, the best performing schools are the private schools, not necessarily the public schools, like we had before.
Yeah, but let me tell you that in my county, the public schools are holding their own. So it is not about the fact that there are too many pupils. It's also the culture we have. We have to have a complete change of culture. That you get committed to your job, you do it the best, and also utilizing our resources optimally. We have tried to support primary schools, secondary schools, when I was MP, with CDF to improve their classes, to improve their infrastructure. In every constituency, there is such money. So it's a question of making sure that all public funds are utilized optimally. I agree, we have to expand infrastructure, even for universal health care. One of our plans is to start with the county, making sure that there are good facilities in the county, then you go to the constituency, then you go down. The problem with free primary education is that we have never attended to infrastructure. My government will tackle not just the numbers, but the infrastructure, the quality, all those.
Moonlighting lecturers. Moonlighting lecturers, but also in JKUAT, lecturers build hostels outside to host students while the university has enough money and land. What would you do about that?
I would say there's nothing wrong with a lecturer who has land and money putting up a building like any other person. What I would be concerned is not how the lecturer or the other person is doing with in their private sphere, but the use of the public funds that are in the university. How are we going to direct that to benefit the students? And yes, we need a plan on student accommodation. Out there where a number of Kenyans take their children, the hostels are built by the private sector, but rented, or rather the negotiations is with the university. Therefore, the rates are set that we accommodate the students. We need something organized like that. And we need the universities, the companies now that are running the university hostels, they also need to change and return to the non-profit so that our students can get the thing.
Let's talk about your policy on science and technology and ICT.
Yeah.
What do your plans about that? Science, technology, and ICT?
Invest in that, because actually majority, quite a number of jobs are going to come from that sector. And whether it's in marketing our produce.
Is it in your pillars?
But when we talk of infrastructure, infrastructure includes, and I have spelled it out, it includes roads, transport, water, energy, ICT. Yeah.
Right. Poverty and the link to food, food security, which you touched on earlier. And some parts of our country are so poor. In fact, the Global Hunger Index says that Kenya's food security state is serious. Not alarming, but we seem to be in chronic food insecure mode. And so poor are we that in some schools you have children sent there for the school feeding program, children who were sent to get food from school to take back home. How would you address that?
I think it's really sad that we have this chronic food shortage in a country that can actually feed itself. My travels around the country as I campaigned have shown me that actually most areas can grow the food they require and even take that food outside. Take Turkana, for instance. We have the river Takwel. We have the Kerio. It is possible to tap water, and it's already being done, but not on a scale enough to feed that area. I am saying that with proper policies and investment, it is possible for Kenya to feed itself without even resorting to importing food from anywhere else. And these are things we are working on, because what works in my mind as I'm touring these areas is how can I make a difference to these people within the first year.
You come from Kirinyaga, where we have Mwea, we have that scheme
rice
there.
fields, yeah.
And those fellows once wrote a story about that area, and it's it's a colonial setup.
It is.
So how come it has remained that way? No, it is not your constituency.
I supported Mwea as they fought for liberalization in of the rice sector. We pushed for their titles. They eventually are getting titles. But the support farmers need, especially small-scale farmers, whether in Mwea, Bunyara, or Ahero, is in marketing. There is a lot of corruption, and there is no support, not the way the government initially supported the tea farmers and the coffee farmers. Even at its worst, tea farmers are still getting good revenue from their crop. The rice farmers are not getting. The sugar farmers, there is such poverty on the sugar belt. Mumias makes colossal sums. It is not reflected in the sugar belt. So we need a concerted effort to support our farmers in marketing, in bulking their crops, and in processing them. And this is what I would do, not just for Mwea, for Kenya.
All right, we have 6 minutes to the end of the show. You are promising us a robust foreign policy. And one of the questions was, how would you deal with the East African community?
I would be an advocate of greater cooperation, speeding up the things that we can speed up. We can't live in isolation. And this is a market that, when fully utilized, will help spur growth in all the countries. So infrastructure. Look at the way we have neglected the road that would lead to Southern Sudan. Kenyans and other business people between Kenya and Southern Sudan, by road, they have to go all the way to Kampala and then get into South Sudan. We could have been using the road passing through Turkana. There's no infrastructure. So leveraging our positioning for trade, for security, because our security, the border security, is shared, and ensuring that we keep, we are open and friendly to our neighbors.
But the East African Communities project seems to be stalling. A bit of resistance from Tanzania towards building the community, really. Opening up the borders. The trade barriers are still there. You can't export your goods to, Uganda, Tanzania. Do you foresee this happening, opening up in the short term?
It will take persuasion and talking. I think I wouldn't blame any one country, because we all have issues, including governance issues. It's about balancing our interests and reassuring, because sometimes you can have misgivings about a project, about your partners in the project, until they're leveled out. I think there isn't enough interaction between the leadership of these countries, and the interaction they have is at a superficial level. We need serious constructive engagement for our benefit and the benefit of our peoples, and that's what I'm talking about.
I want to pick you up on this Diaspora Investment Authority you talk about to encourage and secure investments by Kenyans, because of course people in the diaspora will be listening to this. If I'm not mistaken, we're supposed to have a Diaspora Authority somewhere. There was something launched a couple of years ago, which there was something launched, some sort of effort to organize the diaspora remittances and help them invest back home. But
not aware of it. And what I'm talking about is that the diaspora at one point have become one of our main sources of foreign income. Exchange. Therefore, they are supporting development here. Yet the same people are having difficulties. It's on today's paper that Africans are paying the highest tariffs to transfer money. We need our central bank, our government, our Foreign Affairs Ministry and Treasury getting into negotiations, easing the manner in which remittances come here. Like in South Sudan, we involve talks between the two central banks because they have difficulties remitting money here. We also have investments by people in diaspora. They are losing money to crooks within their families, to brokers out here. We can make it easier for them. We also have other problems of labor, the people who have gone out to work. We have no agreements with those countries. We are not supporting them, yet they are supporting Kenya. So it's a whole lot of issues that you want under one roof to recognize the support the diaspora is giving, in turn make it easier for them, because then we also end up getting more support.
Okay, so you have your haters, you've also got your supporters.
Yeah.
Jackie Nomoja, you're fearless and frank. The Kenya we want is in your hands. Go, Madam President. I've been undecided about who to vote for, but I think I now know. Looking forward to the presidential debate, which of course is on the 11th and the 25th. Liz and Kitale, I don't know how I can propel you to the top. You are what Kenya needs.
With your vote.
If you vote.
Yes.
Of course, we need people to
Yes.
vote, and we need people to vote peacefully.
Yeah.
But if we go back to the issue of integrity, there's several questions about how you would deal with the cases at the International Criminal Court.
I would let them proceed as they are, but the focus really should be on improving the criminal justice system in our country, ensuring that the law is enforced across the board. We must avoid having any other occasion where the international community has to help us to sort out our mess here. I don't want to promise, merely because of elections, that we are going to bring the cases back. We had an opportunity to form a local tribunal, and we refused. I did my best then, and including those who are now facing the criminal charges, they actually mobilized people to vote against it. We should let that process continue, and we should build internally to make sure that this is the first and only time that will ever
Some of
happen.
your competitors they're saying that it is possible to bring the cases back to Kenya. Is it possible?
The
in your view?
government, the coalition government has tried that and they didn't succeed. I don't know. I don't want to make promises merely to convince people, false promises, just like the church was told that the constitution will be amended after it is passed.
I suppose there are
choose
two
to
levels
deal
to
with
that.
people directly
Yeah.
and openly.
Aren't there two levels to that question? Whether there's the political will to bring the cases back, but also whether you want to go through the diplomatic processes, you know, to be seen to be making the moves to bring it back. Whether you're going to go to the UN Security Council and
I'd say
mobilize.
no.
Well,
Yeah.
that's a clear
Yeah.
answer there,
Yeah.
David.
Yeah.
Okay, just, I mean, the security, the two issues that we haven't looked at, the security concerns in the country, as well as the unemployment, which is a huge challenge to young people in this country.
Yeah.
How do you propose to tackle these two, just in tying up?
Security, just ensuring that the police reforms are completely applied. And one of the things is training, retraining if you like, equipment, making sure they have equipment which includes software and hardware. And I'm saying more technology, because modern policing without technology is not possible with rising population, sophisticated crime. You need our police to be able to scan large areas. I keep on saying that if we had adopted technology, the police would have scanned Suguta Valley before they went to the slaughter. They would be able to police better in Tana River, traffic, such issues. So we need to support them and invest in them, in their welfare, and we need concerted public engagement. Without the public, our security involvement and support, our security cannot be guaranteed. And about border security, I said, apart from using modern technology and revamping the police force, we also need constructive engagement with our neighbors.
You talked about
Okay, we're out of
unemployment.
time. Last question.
Unemployment,
Yes,
I have already said that in agriculture we will move to value addition, which my regime will support, which means lots of jobs, and also making sure that we support industries, traders, business people. These are where the jobs are. The government's job is not to create jobs per se, because it has a limit to how many it can employ, is to get an enabling environment to ensure that the bottlenecks to opening new businesses are removed, and that we improve governance, fight corruption, so that the traders, those who are creating jobs, mainly the small and medium enterprises, we concentrate only on large industry. I will concentrate not just on large industries, but also on the small and medium-term enterprises.
In totality, what would be the dividends of these whole government infrastructure changes, reforms, and activities in terms of the jobs that they would, you would generate in a year, the economy would generate in a year? Some people have put it at 1 million per year. What is your estimate in totality that you think
we'll come with the figures, but it's easy to give people figures and then not fulfill. But I know that we are going to come with rough estimates, but a lot of jobs will be opened, even by just supporting those who can make the things we consume. There's no reason why government offices are full of furniture from Asia. We are creating jobs in Asia. My government would start by consuming what is made locally. If I want a finish that Juakali cannot get, support them to get the whatever. And I have done this by example. My secretariat, my campaign secretariat, is furnished by Juakali artisans, and it's really nice.
Okay, excellent. We're out of time, so the final question will be, tell us what you do. This comes from Joseph. Tell us what you do in the remaining days to ensure that you garner enough numbers to clinch the top seat, seeing as you have stiff competition from the two big alliances, CORD and Jubilee, because we see that you feature nowhere on the recent opinion polls.
I will say that the opinion poll that I'll be leading will be on the 4th of March. I'm going to continue engaging the people. As a politician who's been in the game for 20 years, I'm able to also gauge the reactions of the people. I know that what is projected as our support is totally inaccurate. I am going to continue, and I can't give up. Not on my country.
We're out of time.
Yeah, this should be a parting shot also.
Yes.
What do you say to people who say, Martha Karua is so great, she articulates these issues, we believe in her, but look, we are not hopeful she'll make it. What will happen to Martha Karua if she doesn't win?
I'll tell you that put your vote where your mouth is. You believe in Martha Karua, please give me your vote. Your vote, the next person's vote, that's what makes the millions. And there are many, many people thinking like you. Be bold, don't give up on Kenya. I won't give up on Kenya, and don't you dare give up on our country.
Excellent. Thank you very much. That's where Cheche ends this week. Many thanks to our guest this morning, the Honorable Martha Karua, Presidential Flag Bearer for the NOC Kenya Party. The best of luck to you, and we look forward to hearing more about how you'd run the country and how your plans compare to those of your rivals during the presidential debates on February 11th and 25th. Our thanks also to panelists Muteki Njau and David Makali. I'm Udwa Kamimo. Enjoy the rest of your week.